Act natural.
It's the personal side of the presidential candidates running in the New Hampshire primary.
My father grew up on a peanut farm in Asia with no floor. And when I visited his childhood home, I was like, no way.
My tolerance for alcohol is amazingly low. So in my line of work, you know, I say enough dumb things being sober.
The candidates sit down in a Manchester diner with undecided voters.
I had a can of Moxie with my breakfast this morning.
To get away from policy and get into who they are.
The name Tulsi, I just love the name. Is there a story behind it?
It's a sacred flower from India.
Why they've decided to seek the highest office in the land.
The battle of ideas should be something we celebrate.
And the unique character each would bring to the Oval Office.
When I put on high heels and a wig and a hat, I am 8.5 feet tall.
Welcome to our Candidate Cafe special. I'm Adam Sexton. For the past 4 months, News 9 has been hosting these special gatherings at the Airport Diner in Manchester.
It's the women's side? All right. All right, there you go. All right.
Hey, everyone. Wow, what a big group.
Unlike some of our other coverage, this is a chance for people to get to know the candidates on a much more personal level and hear about their life stories to get a better idea of the type of leader they are and would be as president. That includes the youngest candidate in the field, Democrat Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, Indiana. Our voters at the diner wanted to know more about the origins of his often mispronounced last name, as well as his military service in Afghanistan and his decision to come out while he was mayor and live as an openly gay man.
What's in a name? A lot of voters call this presidential candidate Mayor Pete, but others are curious about the 9 letters and 3 syllables that follow.
So your name, Buttigieg, I don't know if you've done like Ancestry.com or anything. I did that, and you know, it's really fascinating the stuff you find out. I'm curious about your genealogy and your history.
Yeah. So my father immigrated to the U.S. from Malta, which is one of the smallest countries in the world. You know, you draw a line from Sicily to Tunisia, and it'll go through Malta. And in fact, the whole country has about the same population as St. Joe County, where I live in Indiana. And the funny thing is, over there, it's like Smith. It's one of the most common names. So much so that there was a president. I wouldn't be the first President Buttigieg in the world. There was a President Buttigieg in Malta who was next door neighbors with my family Buttigiegs, and they weren't even related. So the etymology of the name, Tjij means chicken. So it probably means like owner of poultry or lord of the poultry or something like that. But if you go over there and you go into a crowded diner and say, "Hey, Buttigieg," everybody, a bunch of people would turn around.
Have you visited Malta?
I have, yeah, not in a little while, but we used to go every couple of years, and it's a beautiful. If you ever get a chance, I don't know if anybody here has had a chance to go. It is beautiful. You actually see it a lot on TV because it can be made to look like Italy or Greece or the Middle East. So a lot of Game of Thrones was filmed in Malta. Yeah. A lot of times they sub it in as Jerusalem or the Middle East. In fact, I wander. You remember that? What was it called? World War Z. That zombie movie. I literally wandered onto the set of World War Z. All the scenes in Jerusalem. Yeah. So I'm looking around. I go into this neighborhood. Suddenly, all the street signs changed to Hebrew, and there were these zombies walking around. But there were, it was like a zombie smoking a cigarette. There were extras waiting for their turn.
Buttigieg is the only child of 2 academics. He says his Maltese immigrant father, a professor at the University of Notre Dame, taught him the importance of watching every penny and classic rock.
When my dad used to take me to school, we had a Chevy Cavalier. I'm pretty sure he literally went he wanted a new car, but he went to the dealer and literally said, "Give me your cheapest car." And so he got this 2-door Cavalier, but it had a tape deck, which by the standards of my dad in the 90s was pretty extravagant. And he had exactly one tape, which was Cosmo's Factory, Creedence Clearwater, which is actually great. I mean, it's such a great piece of music that I didn't mind that for probably about 3 years. It was all we ever listened to when we were in the car.
As the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, Buttigieg came out as openly gay in 2015. At the cafe table, he described the process through the lens of his faith journey.
When it came to coming out, I knew I wanted to tell our priest sooner rather than later, but I wasn't sure how to approach it. But I did it like anything else, you know, asked him over for a cup of coffee and took a deep breath. I was like, hey, something I'd like to talk to you about. And found our church, even as the bigger Anglican church has been going through a process on acceptance, found that he was incredibly supportive. And it meant a lot to me that we were able to have our wedding in the church last year. And was really, he gave a wonderful sermon that reminded me of the, you know, your relationship with somebody you love and your relationship with God are I believe, they talk to each other in a way. And it was a really important moment in my life to be able to take those two things that I had been led to believe might always be at war with each other, and instead see how they could reinforce each other. Sorry, it's still kind of emotional just to think about it.
Buttigieg also serves in the U.S. Navy Reserve and did a tour in Afghanistan as an intelligence officer.
Our mission had to do with blocking the finance of drug money going into the financing of terrorism.
What was your interaction with the people in Afghanistan?
Well, a lot of it was just through a windshield, because we'd be on these movements, and of course you're a target, you know, sitting there in the vehicle. But the great thing about it was that because my job, I mean, a lot of times I called it military Uber. I mean, we were just, you know, my job is just a driver. But you're in the life of this city, and it's a city. You know, it's a noisy, smelly, lively city. And so you would see people, I think something about the way we imagine war when you just see it on TV is that in a place where there's a war, all anybody's ever doing is fighting a war. Well, this is a city where, you know, there's a guy with a watermelon over his shoulder coming back from the market, and kids crossing the street going to school, and business people. It's a city. There's also a war going on. And so you would see just the ordinary rhythms of life.
One of those rhythms that drew the mayor in was the local bazaar, where he loved to haggle for the best possible deal on hand-woven carpets.
There's nothing like bargaining. Talk about political training. Bargaining for a carpet with an Afghan carpet salesman. And, you know, you'd haggle and you'd BS with them a little bit. And they just show you carpet after carpet. You'd feel guilty because they'd unfold the carpets, and there'd be this kid who would come, pull one off, and unfold it. And you don't like it. They'd fold up another one, and you got to get a number out of them, right? So you'd go through this ritual for half an hour, and finally you admit that you kind of like this carpet, but you try to get a number out of them, like, you know, but really, like, how much? And you would see him look at the carpet for a long time. But, of course, he wasn't thinking about the carpet. He was thinking about you. He's figuring out the highest number he can say that won't cause you to immediately leave. And so he'll say a number, you know, 800. And you'll be like, oh, gosh, you know, I'm just, I can't. I'm just a lieutenant. Like, I don't have that kind of money. I mean, honestly, I hate to even, this is probably insulting, but I couldn't really do more than $150 for this carpet. And he would say, oh, that's more than I paid for it. I don't want to embarrass you, but we just can't. And you go through this whole kind of ritual, and it's like you're both in on the joke as you're going through this bargaining process.
Buttigieg says one of the biggest lessons of his time in Afghanistan is that making human connections is key.
And at every step, you're kind of informally building relationships to try to get things done. I mean, even to get a vehicle. So a big part of my job was moving people around Kabul, or sometimes we'd have to do a road trip between Kabul and Bagram, just about an hour drive on the open highway. And even though that was an important part of my job, I never had my own vehicle that I had access to, so I always had to kind of bargain for one.
Interestingly enough, he's now involved in a negotiation of another kind, trying to win over first-in-the-nation voters.
What's your favorite place that you visited in New Hampshire?
The airport time.
From an Indiana mayor to a Colorado senator, Michael Bennet is still trying to become a household name. But the former superintendent of one of the nation's largest school districts, Denver, Colorado, also has an intriguing life story, including how some of his family came to America.
Michael Bennet, senator from Colorado, is naturally a Denver Broncos fan, but he does have something of a college connection to the New England Patriots.
Of your alumni brethren, which is your favorite NFL coach?
Well, I'd have to say Bill Belichick.
I just wanted to hear you say his name. I just wanted to hear you say his name.
That's what I'd have to say.
As a Denver fan, I wanted to hear you say his name.
We're proud of him. I mean, you know, Wesleyan has, you know, not always been known as a football powerhouse.
You had two at one point.
But somehow he managed to learn something about the game of football while he was there.
Bennet got his first taste of politics early in life as a Senate page.
What is your most memorable
To
thing?
me, what I remember most, I was a kid. I was really young. I was in high school. I guess the pages are in high school. And that summer, Senator Stevens was on the floor all summer long because he had some Alaska lands bill of some kind. It felt to me like he literally never left the floor. And in retrospect, you know, it's such an interesting thing. I haven't thought about it since you just raised it. But that was a time when the Senate still worked. It still functioned like the Senate.
He says his love of country was shaped by his mother and grandparents who survived the Holocaust.
I'm Jewish myself, and I wonder what, if any, traditions from your mom's background have come through into your own family, and how her history impacts your life.
So my mom's name is Suzanne Kledgman, and she and her parents, John and Helena Kledgman, Jakob and Helena Kledgman, were living in Warsaw before the war. That's where they were from. And my grandfather had a big family. And when they got warned that the Nazis were coming, they were art dealers. They had a small art gallery in Warsaw. And they were warned that the Nazis were coming, and they were and my grandfather wouldn't leave because he didn't want to leave the family behind. And in the end, they were all killed except for my mom, her parents, and an aunt. And my mom was sent out to the country and lived with a nurse in the suburbs of Warsaw, and my grandmother was taken in by a group of nuns. And actually, until I was in my 20s, to answer your question directly, the family history was that she was Catholic, you know, because that happened to so many people. And then my grandfather hid underneath in a candy factory in Warsaw. Anyway, miraculously, they survived, and at the end of the war, they came back together. They rebuilt their shattered lives in this country, and what I would say about them is that you could tell this deeply terrible thing had happened to them, and they had had the worst of things that humans could do to other humans had happened to them. And that was there, but what also was there was just the sheer joy of being Americans. And they started their gallery again in New York. They were successful. They were able to pay for my education and my siblings' education in one generation because of what they were able to do when they came here. And I guess that's the part of their legacy that is so important to me on a daily basis, is the idea that, you know, they left it behind. You know, they left the religious stuff behind because of what had happened to them. They left the experiences behind, and all they wanted to do was be Americans. My grandmother would tell a story about walking into this place called Schraff's, which was a diner in New York, or a cafeteria in New York. You guys will remember, and seeing Harry Truman sitting at the counter there after he'd been president, just by himself eating, and she couldn't believe, like, you'd never seen something like that in Europe, and here in America you would see Harry Truman sitting there.
Early experience working as an attorney on major financial deals helped Bennet navigate difficult times as superintendent of schools in Denver.
You know, I went through an incredibly painful process in our community. It was very difficult to close schools that hadn't been closed by the district. And You know, those are really tough meetings because people are saying, you're telling me because of what the district failed to do that my kid who lives across the street from there can't go to the 3rd grade there? That's tough. And the pension stuff was incredibly tough too, although we got that done and merged it into the state pension. I wouldn't have known how to do any of that stuff if I hadn't had the business experience that I had. I wouldn't have had a clue. I would have left the district, you know, the way I found the district, which is how the previous superintendents had all handled it, because nobody had the skills or the knowledge to be able to do it. And sometimes people would say, well, you know, you don't have any K-12 experience, and you know, you're going to run this like a business. And I would always say, this isn't a business.
A married father of 3 daughters, Bennett says a favorite family pastime is to poke fun at Senator Dad.
Some of you may remember that moment when I had a little bit of a conversation with Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate. I don't know if you saw that, but Ted accused me of yelling at him, and then I said I wasn't yelling, but that I was yelling, and and my daughter, Caroline, who just was a freshman in college at the time, this thing came on the TV, and she and her roommates were watching it, and she said, I was starting into him, and she said, uh-oh, I've heard that voice before. And they have this, you know, when they see these headlines that describe mild-mannered Michael Bennett, those are the ones where they circle it and send it to each other. She was, when I went back there to talk to him about whether I should run for president, she was the one that was most enthusiastic about it, the 15-year-old. And it shocked me a little bit because she's the one that, like, I could easily imagine that she's caucusing for Cory Booker somewhere right now.
This long primary season officially started on Inauguration Day 2016, when President Trump filed his re-election paperwork. But his first Democratic challenger launched his own campaign just a few months later. After the break, how John Delaney's decision to leave the career path chosen by his parents led to a presidential bid. Plus, why Andrew Yang says his experience at New Hampshire's Phillips Exeter Academy was not entirely positive.
You know, my first trip here, I was like, does Exeter count as New Hampshire?